Good morning, CloudFest. I hope everyone's feeling fresh as I am. So strategically, I took an early night last night, but the hotel next door still decided to have a party, and I didn't sleep till 2 a.m., so it didn't quite work out. As David rightly mentioned, I'm going to talk to you about how you can build your service business on OVH infrastructure. If we look at the cloud as it is today, if you look at cloud transformation, the data odyssey as we see it, by 2025, data will be 10 times what it has been until 2016. So you see there's still a huge transformation curve ahead of us, and we will see how OVH caters for all the different solutions across what we call the data sphere of the different elements that you see in front of you. So for those of you that maybe don't know OVH, who is OVH? OVH is the alternative smart cloud provider. And what do we mean by smart? Smart is relating to our values. And what we say is we provide a simple way to deploy and scale infrastructure. Multi-local, we have 28 data centers across the globe, which is giving you closer proximity to your customers or to the end users that they require. It can get completely accessible, reversible, and interoperable. We use industry standard, working with partners, so therefore it's easier to do lift and shift, which we'll talk about a little bit later. And also transparent billing model. The pricing that you see is the pricing that you pay. There's no surprises. OVH has been around for 20 years, and we are 100% pure player for cloud with verticalized and industrial business model. When we talk about our technology, it's an innovative cloud based on open standards, APIs, open ecosystems, communities, and you can have a server delivered in 120 seconds. The infrastructure, or our commitment to providing a highly available and secured infrastructure with SLAs, you're free to change, it's just a monthly billing, and it's a predictive and low price. Talking a little bit more about the data center, I said there's 28 data centers across the globe. So as you can see, there's Australia, Singapore, Frankfurt, London, Warsaw, as well as having 17 data centers in France, 3 locations, Beauharnois, and also OVH on the US East Coast and West Coast. Not only do we own the data centers, we actually own the entire supply chain where we build and manufacture our servers. We have around 600 plus servers, nearly 1,000 servers coming off our production line every day that are racked and ready to be deployed in 120 seconds in our data centers. We also operate our own global dark fiber network, which is now 17 terabytes. I think when I started with the business 4 years ago, it was just 8 terabytes. So you can see there's significant advancements to support the growing demand. Through our data centers, we also have 33 points of presence on the network. Until now, we have produced over 1 million servers, and we have 350,000 servers in live production today. Through the data centers as well, we use our own liquid water cooling technology, which is patented, and we have been doing since 2004. This enables us to achieve a PUE rating average across our data centers of 1.07. We have 500,000 public cloud instances, and there are no charges for ingress and egress on network usage. And owning this entire supply chain allows us to pass on the cost saving to our customer and to our end users. So we have 3 main pillars of products and solutions within OVH. Today I'm going to focus on the OVH hosted private cloud, but if you do want more information on our public cloud or dedicated servers, please feel free to visit us on the booth A02, and the team will be happy to provide you with more information. So when we say OVH Enterprise Solutions, what do we mean by this? So OVH is working on a plan which was announced at the last summit on 4 universes. So having a right universe to deliver to the right audience in the right way that the customer segment requires. And what we see when we say OVH Enterprise is gearing towards the partner ecosystem, those enterprise customers, and ensuring that we provide an ecosystem that allows you to have the type of services and solutions that you need, that you can pre-package and then provide to the end customer. And we'll share a couple of OVH and VMware use cases a little bit later. So reflecting back to the first slide, when we say there's a huge cloud transformation journey ahead of us, when we talk about data center migration and the path, this is one of the biggest markets confirmed by VMware. 8 out of 10 servers are still on-premise. So the migration to the cloud is definitely an upcoming trend, and we decided to partner with VMware and are one of the first to deploy HCX to allow a connection between on-premise and our data centers for a true hybrid cloud environment as well, which will be one of the use cases I'll talk about a little bit later. So taking a look first at data center modernization, as we say, the IDC survey shows that in the next 2 years, over 50% of organizations will want to deploy new hardware to replace their legacy systems. Now, some of this may be software-defined IT, so a software-defined model, finding solutions to host this. When we talk consumption-based IT, this is the evaluation of procurement, budgets. Does it make sense to continue to invest in new hardware on a CapEx model? Does it make sense to work with a partner like OVH to have that flexibility, manage that cash flow, and be on an OpEx-based model? And also talking about hybrid IT operations. So as the need is changing to become more hybrid and cloud ready, it also means that companies need to think about their hiring process, the different skill sets, maybe upgrading those tech skill sets to cater for the new applications that they need to deploy, new environments that they will need to use. And finally, looking at workload optimization and rationalization, so how can they get greater efficiency, which in itself can provide a cost saving, and the capability of cloud computing allows companies to achieve this. Within this, talking about migration and the possible paths, according to Gartner, when considering DC migration to infrastructure as a service, organizations do need to select a path, and the choice will depend on the end goal of the migration as well as the individual organizational needs. And as you can see, there are several paths combining lift and shift, so copy and paste. There's minimal changes. There is the cloud-enabled virtual automation or a DevOps transformation that many companies are going through at the moment. And we'll look at some use cases on the different scenarios in a second. So the typical business needs that are impacting IT, if we look at some examples based on the previous slide, what you see is a kind of two-mode scenario. In the one mode, you've got the extension and the cost optimization. So the need of extending or using OVH or a provider like OVH to have that ability to scale from your on-prem rather than having to buy the hardware to rack it. And then we've got the cost optimization piece that we talk about, which is really the transformation of being on a CapEx to an OpEx-based model, providing a hosting, replacing one hosting solution for a more cost-effective solution, which is better managing the CapEx investment, if you like. And on mode 2, we talk about new application deployment. And the question that many companies have is, do we continue to deploy this in-house in our on-premise data center, or can we now take those applications to cloud and start in the cloud? So assist in that migration journey and not sort of going two-step process, if you like. And also, in mode 2, you have those companies that are really on the cloud journey, which is starting to add a new cloud provider to an existing portfolio, and really those cloud-ready organizations that are deploying straight to the cloud. If we look here from some of the statistics that you see on data migration challenges, which I'm sure might sound familiar to most, that you work with this type of thing, I guess our job and your job is to find a new way to support this. And I think it's important that we have the right partners for that cloud transformation, which would be a partner with good industrial technology capabilities, like OVH, combined with the value-added layer that David mentioned earlier, that you would provide for the end customer and that relationship to help them deploy and manage that end-to-end cycle and the integration or the transformation. So looking at this, from this slide what you can take is how you can connect your on-premise to the OVH cloud. And you can see that we have different solutions to cater for different needs. It's not just about cloud. We also have the bare metal, there is the hosted private cloud, and there is the public cloud. So again, I think one of the important points for, if we look at value-added resellers or managed service providers, system integrators, and this was recently, I learned from a VMware partner day that I was on, is how are you seen as a trusted advisor? And I think to be seen as a trusted advisor, you need to provide the right solution for the right use case. And we know that in certain use case, maybe bare metal would be more preferable than cloud. And in other cases, a hosted private cloud is a solution where sometimes it might be a public cloud. And OVH will give you the option to then obviously use multiple scenarios or a combination of them to provide a hybrid cloud environment. And this can all be connected to the OVH private network via our Cloud Connect as well. So you can connect the on-prem data center directly to OVH, allowing data transfer rates as well. So when we talk about data center extension scenarios with the different OVH solutions, as we said, there are sort of 4 different ones, and we will look at some use cases on the next slide, how this can work. But I guess it's something that I mentioned a bit earlier on. How do we lift and shift the legacy to the cloud with minimal disruption? How do we leverage a provider like us for activity overflow, hosting new applications, as well as expanding the current cloud portfolio? So we see from this first one is really a lift and shift scenario, if you like. So I guess typically an organization would deploy to their on-premise data center and have a migration to OVH. But post-migration, then it means that they have a direct deployment to OVH, and the benefit that OVH using open standards, I think sometimes we can also help with this 2-step process, allowing customers to just deploy directly using open standard like Vmware or OpenStack allows customers to do this. When we look at the second one, really this is going from on-prem to OVH. In this scenario, you see OVH is really being used as a data center extension, allowing the capability to scale and the burst workloads. And in this side, we look at new application development, and as I mentioned earlier, it's that question of, do we continue to deploy on-prem and do a 2-step phase, or do we go directly to the cloud while we're still migrating the legacy? And finally, we're looking at the multi-cloud scenario where it's not just about using OVH, but again, it's using multiple cloud providers. And again, coming back to the point of being a trusted advisor, it's not about putting all your eggs in one basket, and you may choose for certain workloads to provide a solution that provides a complete hybrid cloud setup for your customers to provide them that added security and redundancy by using OVH as well as other providers. And yes, I work for OVH, but I certainly would recommend number 4. Talking a little bit more about sort of the OVH solution itself, I mean, what we have at the top layer of the solution that we provide is like a software-defined network, which is allowing you, with the benefit of NSX, to have all the software-defined networking needs, including firewall, load balancing, distributed firewall, or data security. Sort of the middle core of this is a software-defined compute, where we provide the vSphere Enterprise Plus license included in the pricing model, and this is where sort of you access and you're managing the hypervisor up, whereas we're taking care of everything which is the infrastructure layer below, which is then the infrastructure, which is the software-defined storage. So more recently, OVH, working with VMware and Intel, have introduced vSAN, so we can have accelerated performance on SSD using Intel Optane disks and achieve higher IOPS within a private cloud environment. So some of the solution key points is OVH is providing you with a versatile solution right from bare metal, private cloud, public cloud, and including in many data center extension scenarios. Not only this, but a dedicated private network that allows you to scale from on-premise and utilizing public and private networks. And we also have unique, open and dedicated defined infrastructure that is scalable based on your needs. So if we talk a little bit more about the hosted private cloud and why OVH chose to work with VMware, because one might see that VMware is more proprietary and not open, whereas OVH is all about using open standards, are smart and innovation for freedom, as we say. But really, if you look at it, it is the standard for virtualization in our industry, and this is a 10-year partnership that we've been working on as a result, and I will explain some of the reasons why. 91% of the on-premise infrastructure is on VMware virtualization. So I think when we talk about cloud transformation and migrating legacy workloads, sometimes you'll find that there is a hesitation from the customer. What would happen? A lot of unanswered questions. I know a lot of people probably have done reversibility plans where they were too quick to deploy to the cloud. But I think when you're using an industry standard like VMware, it kind of gives a bit more reassurance to the end customer that it's something that they're familiar with, they're used to, and they're certainly going to be more comfortable to move to a VMware cloud as it's what they use on-prem today. And you can see here is just some additional market inputs that confirm that they would be more comfortable moving to the cloud with you and the OVH hosted cloud powered by VMware. So when we talk about the hosted private cloud itself and the 3 key benefits, if you like, for you as a partner, it's really allowing you to focus on the strong points, which is focusing on the software and the deployment, the journey of going to the cloud, which is not really the OVH speciality. You don't worry about the security updates, the version upgrades, or the hardware refresh. You know, this is something OVH will take care of, and you can change and not worry about that. And also connecting those legacy workloads with the cloud using the OVH platforms. So, and building on that when I talked, just going on the previous slide there, so for example, right now, we're using vSphere 6.5, but we will provide within this the NSX, HCS capability. As we said, it's the same skill set and technology, deploying vSphere as a service, and also having a fully software-defined data center that you're just managing via the vSphere interface, and we take care of the rest. As I mentioned earlier, most of the on-prem environments today run on 5.5, which was out of support in September 2018. And any upgrade to 6.5 may require the acquisition of new hardware, which again then raises a question, do we invest in CapEx and put new hardware in there, or does it make sense moving to an OpEx model with, and again, there is a possibility to move to an OpEx model with a public cloud environment, but then are those organizations ready to accept a mutualized environment for those business critical workloads, or would they still prefer to have a private setup which is dedicated to them? And this is the element where OVH comes in, that we take care of that upgrade of the version from 5.5 to 6.5, the hardware upgrades, the software migration, this is all managed by us. And as we see from here, there is sort of many paths to private cloud hosting, if you like. You know, we have different use cases where VMware virtualization with the vSphere interface, as I mentioned, the dedicated hardware. We can even provide isolated space if security is really a concern. And there are other use cases around hybrid cloud connectivity or a data center extension, as we talked about, providing additional cloud services or dedicated services, so particularly maybe for healthcare data, so we have the certifications, we'll see a slide on this in a second, or even providing a virtual desktop, a VDI solution based on the private cloud environment. And alternatively, additional managed and hosted services working with third-party partners such as yourself to deploy like database as a service, big data, GPU, or even housing. And this is just coming, I'm going to click through. What we talked about before, it's dedicated hardware, it's not shared resources, it truly is a dedicated private cloud platform. So they have the flexibility and ability to scale, but they're not then having the noisy neighbor effect because they're controlling their VM. The license is included, and we take care of it. It's a certified environment, so rest assured you can put your mission critical data on there without any worries. You can have mono or multi-data center leveraging the OVH network, and the resources are also available hourly as well as monthly. So this really applies that burst workloads for Black Friday or for Christmas. If you want to scale up or scale down, you can do this. So then you can more predictively, manage that cost model for the customer as well. And again, guaranteed high availability through our own private network. As we said on the certifications, here you have it. You've got ISO 2701, SOC 1 and 2, PCI DSS, Cloud Security Alliance, and as I mentioned, the healthcare data certification as well. And when we talked a little bit mentioned earlier about communities and why is that important to OVH, as we said, OVH is one of the companies that spearheaded what we call the Open Cloud Foundation, which is actually working with other companies like us, so you could say our competitors, to ensure that we have sort of a common framework against the Cloud Act or the US, the big guys in the US, and ensuring that we can, from Europe also, work together to provide an alternative cloud. Also working with OpenStack, part of the OpenStack Foundation, and our public cloud platform is based on OpenStack. We're also part of EuroCloud France and working with CISPE as well on some of the regulations around cloud and writing those. Talking about use cases that we mentioned earlier, So first use case here is VMware and the hybrid cloud extension. So some of you may already be aware that OVH actually acquired the vCloud Air install base and part of the business from VMware because it was a great fit in terms of technology and experience of what OVH is doing. And we were the first in Europe to first provide an experience of HCX, so transferring those workloads from on-premise data centers into the OVH data center. So we have transformed over 500 plus environments, 9,000 VMs, and 3 petabytes of data. And if we look at one specific example, within 5 weeks, we moved 700 VMs and 300 terabytes with a peak transfer rate of 23 terabytes a day, utilizing HCX. So it just shows how that cloud transformation journey is probably not as scary as it once was due to the technologies that our partners are providing and allowing us to utilize. And we can see we can move large workloads in a short time frame, and even the client was very surprised at how quick we were able to provide this migration. The second use case here is Auchan Retail. I think many of you will be familiar with this. 90% of their information system is hosted on VMware. So the partnership with OVH and the private cloud was an obvious one. Auchan has on-premise data centers that are connected to OVH data centers utilizing what we call the OVHcloud Connect. They use VRAG. So VRAG is a technology that's allowing you to connect through multi-data center and multi-products as well to create a hybrid. So it's your own internal private network, if you like. And the standard architecture to create a hybrid environment. And one of the key milestones here was working with OVH allowed Auchan to deliver a 30% optimization, a reduction on IT resources. And the app deployment went from 8 weeks, which was typically 8 weeks to 8 months, depending on the size of the app, to sort of 10 minutes or 48 hours, depending again on the size of the app. So you can see that there's a significant advantage that they achieved by working with OVH. So just to sum up on the solution, as I said before, it's dedicated hardware, and this is the piece that's managed by OVH. You know, we're not doing anything that is the vSphere layer upwards. This is down to you to manage this for your end customer and provide your service layer on top. We work on the automated provisioning to make sure those resources are available. So a private cloud platform can be delivered within an hour. You know, servers in 120 seconds, but it depends. And also giving you the ability to scale and have predictive pricing with no ingress or egress charges. And talking a little bit more about working with partners and why you would work with OVH or what are the benefits, I think this slide is particularly a good visual because it just clearly shows how we are non-competing. You know, we are complementary. There's a lot of things that an OVH partner can provide that OVH doesn't provide, which end customers do need and do want. And where we really come in is giving that ability for you to focus on, I would say, what is the core skill set of working on that layer and having the flexibility to utilize our network, our data centers and solutions to provide a scalable solution for your customers. You support the migration journey and manage it thereafter, and we will provide everything that's the hardware and network needs. And I'm going to take a sip of water while I let you just reflect on a few of the slides there, but it's just some comments from a few of our customers that provided their thoughts on why they find working with OVH has given them a benefit as a partner. And just expanding on that is we have an ecosystem of over 5,000 registered partners, and they use multiple OVH services to build their own managed services portfolio. And we would like to extend this and also have more partners that can leverage the capabilities that OVH is providing. So thank you all for your time on that. I think if you want to know a little bit more about OVH and what we do, certainly come and visit us on the stand, which is AO2. Follow us on Twitter. Octave is the first to announce any company news ahead of anyone else on Twitter. So it doesn't matter what the marketing department does, just watch what Octave's saying. Obviously, you can find more online on our website as well. But in addition to this, talking about kind of the ecosystem that we work with, again, we are able to work with the partnerships to provide dedicated workshops on some of the solutions if you want to know more. We do regular in all of the sort of major countries that we have, so UK, Germany, Poland, France, of course, Australia, Singapore, Canada, US. We deliver things like OVH webinars, which I'm sure some of you will be getting invites to if you've already visited us. We do dedicated OVH academies where it's hands-on workshop and labs where you can come in, work with our product experts as well as experts from VMware to really look at specific solutions that you need to and also build more experience and expertise in how those products and solutions are working to understand first and foremost what are the true capabilities of OVH, then understanding what are the plus points that you can add to that service, right, to then bring to the end customer. And I think it's, you know, we can have those discussions and even do dedicated workshops if you require to have more information.